Rich, but I came from the Nile Valley. It's bittersweet, I smile sadly. Truth rarely seen like child's daddies. I'm in Hotep, I style flashy. Regarded highly, I'm Selassie. As time is passing, tribes are clashing. I know the ledge, I grow my dreads. My queen's two open legs have golden eggs, I'm hatched. 9 months had to hold my breath. Now I dream so heavy that I broke the bed. Provoke the feds that slaughter the sons. 12 get the 4-5 like a quarter to 1. The war has begun. Latin for sun, the soul and melanites get more of the sun. We the fortunate one. Got the God in the womb and the Lord in my come, and no more means love. Death is the source that I'm from. Everything that they do, we have already done. Self-taught, my ice a melt salt. Mine high price, I write and sell thought. I felt cloth, I cannot in cotton shopping. Aquaponic, chronic options. Botanizing pot concoction. Earth a thought, her twat is rotten. Knowledge of my art forgotten. Watch the conscious sovereign doctrine. Not dishonest prophet goblins. Boxing out the box, I'm boxed in. Black magic, black yoni, black phallus. How they turn kings and queens to crack addicts. How they make us lose our sight like bad glasses. They know we invented original mathematics. Black magic, treat home like at Sabbath. I can hear beautiful music and bad static. I attract cash in bags like that's Magnus. Last Maverick, blast fast like Zab Jab.
Peace, family. Welcome to another episode, Underground Railroad. This your host, Brother Rich. We out here in these Brooklyn streets. We ain't got the background for y'all today, but this is good enough right here. I'm back with the brother Alim Bey. As y'all know, Blue Pill, but the brother Alim Bey, man. Yo, the first video I ever participated in was at Sarnetta's house. It was called The Dark Side in the Underworlds. And I told Sarnetta, I said, yo, let me sit in on the interview with you. He said, you got a donation? You got some money? I said, damn, that's a greedy dude there. So I gave him a donation for the interview. I sat in on the interview, and it was a wonderful build. Then when I finally got my own equipment, the first person I interviewed was you again, the Law of Attraction. Right. We did a tape on the Law of Attraction. So that was dope. So it's good to have you back here. Many years for, what was that, about 7 years ago? Might have been about 7. Yeah, might have been about 7, 8. Yeah, about 7, 8 years ago. But anyway, man, a lot going on, brother Alim. I know you got a lot going on down south. You got a lot of land down south, and that makes me think about how they say we used to have land down south, and we got rid of it. Came up north. Right. B.o.B. Waka Flocka. There's a lot of brothers on the what we call celebrities on the internet right now, talking about Moorish aspect. We're Moors, we're indigenous to America. B.o.B. saying ain't no such thing as slave ships. Slave ships never existed. Right. Brother Alim, for some reason, every time we have this conversation, people tell me you got to talk to Brother Alim. The Brother Alim got these documents, he got this information that'll shut everything down. So I'm here today to talk to the Brother Alim. Brother Alim, man, when they say no slave ships ever existed and slavery didn't happen and this and that, right, it almost sounds like escapism, brother. Right. Could you talk to me about exactly what they're talking about and what it is, why people keep recommending you?
All right, well, my book, The First World Order, is the main reason, and then the various videos that I've done over the last 20 some odd years. But to answer that question, the reason why they speak about the fact that there's no slave ship because I've gone to all the major museums in the world. I've gone to the Smithsonian. My wife and I have gone here to the Metropolitan, as well as also to the Natural Science and History Museum here, as well as also we're going to Italy, to the museum there. We have gone to the Louvre in Paris, as well as also to the British Museum in London.
They got stuff from Kemet in there.
Right. So we've gone to all the major museums in the world, and guess what? Not one damn slave ship. But yet, these are the countries that is claimed to have participated in the slave trade. Right. We're looking at the United States, we're looking at Britain, we're looking at France. These are the three major players on the slave trade that they told us about.
Can I ask you, did you make it to the Smithsonian African American?
Yes, we've gone there also, and guess what? Not one damn slave ship. No slave ship in there. They didn't even do a damn replica, but they do show you the chains.
Right.
You know, and they show you that same damn picture that they keep showing us of the slave ship.
Right, the way it's stockpiled.
Right. They show you the stockpile of the slaves in the slave ship. You know what I'm saying?
But no slave ship.
But no slave ship. So this is the reason why B.o.B is stating that, is because they don't even have a replica of one that they can show us. And you know the European with his ego, how he is, you know, just like...
He recreated Noah's Ark.
Exactly. He created Noah's Ark.
And got a bunch of movies about it.
Right.
So if something was so traumatic, and I'm not saying it isn't.
Right.
If a rendering of something or just the verbal suggesting of something is so traumatic to the psyche of melanated people, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know how the white boy loves horror and trauma.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Why has he never represented this in any form, like you said,
you
even as a replica?
Right. You know damn well they would love to have our children to walk onto the slave ship, put them in, you know, put their little arms
simulate
and hands,
it,
right, simulate it. Yeah, come on,
simulate
Billy.
The horror.
Put your arm inside this, you know what I'm saying? Inside this brace. Inside this, they would love to do that.
See how it fits.
Right, see how it fits, Billy. Oh, that looks very good. Come on. I mean, this is the mentality of the individuals that we deal with. They're psychopathic and sociopathic. And I'm not saying all of them, and I'm not saying that slavery did not take place. Slavery happened. All right? Hell, slavery's still going on today. It's called sex slave traffic. You know, slavery in all forms is still taking place today. You know what I'm saying? So don't think just because there's no chains, you know, but even as those who study history, they'll still say that there's chains on the brain, you know.
Right.
So let's not take it to let's not take it beyond, you know, that, you know, what B.o.B was trying to say, because they're trying to say as if slavery did not happen in that sense. That's not what he mean. He's not saying slavery did not happen. He's just simply saying that the slave ships, you know what I'm saying, that there's something about them claiming that have brought us all here on slave ships is something in which that does not mathematically equal up, because we're talking about a 3 to 4 month voyage. All right? And let's look at one ship with 200 POWs, i.e. slaves that was on the ships. You're talking about 200 to 500 in a major ship would have been about 500, all right, quote unquote, POWs or slaves on there. So we're talking about 200 to 500. So let's look at that over a 3 to 4 month voyage. I just want to know the desolation process in which that was used to transform salt water into fresh water that the European had. Because we're talking about tons of water in which that would have to have been on the ships in order to give, you know, thirst or quench the thirst of 200 to 500 so-called POWs, i.e. slaves.
Right.
You know, and we're talking about tons of water. And you can only go without water for about a week and a half. And we're talking about 3 to 4 month voyage here. You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about, and if, as Hakeem Bey said, they would have to have, if they was defecating on themselves because they were seasick, nausea, vomiting, you know, that's a lot to wipe up for 200 to 500 individuals. You know, how would they be able to do this? You know, it just doesn't make any logical sense. There's something going on here with these stories. Now, what we do have history on is that you get Africans and Native Americans by Dr. Jack Forbes, a professor, Jack Forbes. He shows that over 300 so-called Native Americans, indigenous aboriginals, was taken from here, from America, into England.
Yes.
And they got paintings of this.
That's the first documented, quote unquote, transatlantic slave trade. It was opposite of what's being told to, you know, ourselves through, you know, the miseducation system. They were sending captives from the Americas to Europe. Right.
And they also, and they was named, and they was reclassified from Native American to Negro when they got there to Europe. You know.
Now, here we go, you know, when people say you gotta holler at Alim, It's because, you know, me myself, I've seen it. I've been to your presentations. You have a lot of documentations.
Right.
You have a lot of thorough documentations, you know, in black and white that speaks to the reclassification methods that were utilized to change indigenous aboriginals into Negro, blacks, and colors.
Right.
You know, can you briefly speak on that? You know, what have you seen with your own eyes in regards to this classification? You know, how much truth is it with people saying, well, our people were indigenous to the Americas and they were just changed by way of classification to take on these totally new identities.
Right. There was a guy by the name in Virginia, his name was Pluckett. And Pluckett, what he did was reclassify the Native Americans and change their classification from Native American or indigenous aboriginals to become Negroes, blacks, and coloreds. Matter of fact, they destroyed hundreds and thousands of birth certificates, you know, and documented evidence in order to hide the fact of these so-called Native Americans being that indigenous aboriginals, to reclassify them as Negroes and coloreds. You know what I'm saying? So the darker ones, they became the Negroes. The you know, the so-called lighter ones became the coloreds. You know what I'm saying? And then, as we know, that even just 100 years ago, we had, at the turn of the century of the 1900s, we was called Negroes. 30 years later, by 1930, W.E.B. Du Bois said that we was colored. You know what I'm saying? By 1960, we was black. By 1990, you know, based on Jesse Jackson, 1988 in particular, when he ran for president, you know, we became African American. Right. So every 30 years, it seems that we have changed, we have changed our names, our identity or classification over the last 100 some odd years, you know. But yet, when we say that we Moors, all of a sudden they come out with the BIE. So they don't want you to be a Moor, but they had no problem with you being black, because they even called it black identity extremists. So now it's extreme if you don't want to be classified as black any longer. That's the extreme thing. Right. All right. That's what's going on. So they don't want you to be classified as a Moor, but they want you to be classified as black, Negro, colored, African American, whatever the case is, long as you're not talking about this Moorish shit.
That's the red flag.
Right.
Because if there was no truth to it, why classify it? Why demonize it? Why spook people so much that you're going to put people on a terrorist list if they want to identify themselves with a nationality? And the UN Charter says that you have every right
to have a nationality. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So what about this nationality in particular has these people so terrified that they want to label people who identify themselves with their Aboriginal identity as terrorists?
Right. Well, based on the UN definition of indigenous, it states those who have a historical continuity here prior to the invasion of their territory by the Europeans, all right, as well as those who was brought here to the New World and who wish to free themselves, all right, and reattach themselves to a culture that they've been torn. Now, that is the two definitions of indigenous by the United Nations. The first one speaks of those who are already here, which we're talking about those who are indigenous aboriginals, i.e. us, all right, our lineage here, as well as the 15% to 8% of the Africans that were born here. Now, if I never seen how, if we got 100%, all right, and you got, out of the 100%, you got 8 to 15%, those who mix in become the majority, hence you now get the word African American. Damn, wouldn't that be backwards? Wouldn't that be, I mean, hell, just damn in the 1960s, we was called American Negro. Negro was at least second. We was called American Negro. You know what I'm saying? Because when you look at the definition of American, it states in Webster Universal Dictionary that American are the Aboriginal natives. Talking about here now, copper-colored natives. All right? The original application of the word is Maru. The word Maru is the same word as a Moor. M-R, all right? The vowels are taken out. It's the consonants which are M-R. Now, if you get the book, name of the book is Ptah-hotep, the oldest book in the world, is written by Dr. Asa G. Hilliard, all right, who died in Egypt, and his body was brought back here by President Barack Obama, who buried him because they both was Boule members, all right?
When he was a senator.
Right. When he was, well, before he became president, when he was senator, exactly.
Right.
All right, so that's what we talking about. So in that book, he showed you an owl, which is M, the letter for, which is symbol of the M, is an owl, and then the R is the mouth of Ra, which is called Ru. So M-R-U becomes the word Meru, or the word more. All right, so when we looking at the translation, that's what it comes, and the definition that he gave for the word was guardians. Now that's the same thing in Stolen Legacy. When we go to page, 39 in Stolen Legacy by George D. James, where he states that the Moors were the guardians or custodians of the ancient Egyptian information. All right, the Moors was that. So when you go now to the book by Chancellor Williams, Destruction of Black Civilization, you know, he states in there that the Egyptians and the Moors were one and the same people. All right, so that means that we're missing something. Now, what everybody's saying, well, that happened in Africa. Well, yeah, but you have 18 temples right here in the Grand Canyon. You have writings of Metu Neter from the tribe of the Micmac. You know what I'm saying? You get Dr. Barry Fell, his books, you know what I'm saying, on America. And he states this in his books, that he's done research and study throughout the United States, or what we now, North America, and he has shown how the various tribes had Metu Neter. All right? The Micmac in particular, the Algonquin, various tribes of the Algonquin, that means the Lenape, the Nanocoke, who are known as the Delaware Moors. They had Metu Neter. Right, this is all Metu Neter. So Barry Fell, he shows this, and he was a Harvard professor, Harvard University. All right?
Now, to be respectful, because at the end of the day, you know, this is all about respecting our ancestors.
Right.
So to be respectful of our ancestors, you know what I'm saying, we have to acknowledge that there is such a thing as Gory Island, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
There were definitely portals through which, you know, a certain level of transport took place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's also worth noting,
like I said,
that,
about 8 to 15%.
Right. You know, a high percentage of our African brethren and sistren, you know, made landfall in the Caribbean, Brazil in particular.
Right.
You know, and there was a percentage.
More so in Brazil than here.
Yes, there was a percentage that also came over here. So when this information is being relayed, what do you think is being misinterpreted, where a lot of people are in their feelings, and these conversations have a tendency to polarize more than unite?
Right. That's because many feel that by being American, you're not African. We're not saying that we're not African, because the word Africa comes from ancient Egypt. That's on the walls of ancient Kemet and Metu Neter also. All right, the word Af or Afu, you know, Ra and Ka. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, there was a rapper named Afu Ra.
It was.
Who used to rhyme with who?
Well, he used to spit with Doom, I think, at some point.
He spit with them. He also spit with J. Rule the Damager.
J. Rule, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was J. Rule.
Right, J. Rule the Damager.
Yeah.
And his name is Afu Ra. You know what I'm saying? Which is an ancient Kemetic word, which means the sun in the body of man, or the sun or the light in man, which is the temple, the house. You know what I'm saying? This correlates to 1 Corinthians 3:16. Do you not know that your body is the temple of God? That's what that is saying, that your body is the temple of God. So Afu Ra means the body of God. Ka means spirit or breath, you know what I'm saying, in that relationship, you know? So this is the spiritual essence in this body. The spiritual essence of God is in this body. So Afu Ra or Afu Ra Ka, that's what it means, you know? So we are all Africans in that sense, because my spiritual divine essence dwells in his body. So there's no problem with the word Africa in its original content. However, if you're just saying that the European brought me here 400 years ago, when I have documented proof of Abu Bakari, who was here over 168 years before Columbus, that's what I have a problem with. Because they say that he came, the first time he sent out 200 ships. Only out of the 200 ships, only one came back to verify that the 199 other ships continue going here into this land. The following year, he packed up his shit and damn 2,000 ships left Africa from the West Coast. God damn, that's damn 2,200 ships that we talking about that left from out of the West Coast of Africa, and they said they was coming over here to be with their brothers. Who was their brothers that was already here? Documented proof shows that even Zechariah Sitchin and many others, he wrote the book Lost Realms, and many others, David Childress, he wrote the book about the Olmecs, you know what I'm saying, the Olmecs, Enigma, you know, all of them even states and verify that they was already here, that the Olmecs was already here over 5,000 years ago. So the only brothers that Abu Bakari II could be talking about was his brothers and sisters who were the Olmecs, or who known as the She people, who was already here, because we got documented proof that they was part of the Mandinka people, who is also known as the Dogon. The Dogon and the Mandinka people are one and the same people. You know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, there's a Mandinka West African tribe, and there's a Dinka East African tribe, and they both the same people. You know what I'm saying? So this is what we have to realize, that we're not saying that we didn't come out of Africa. You know what I'm saying? Part of our ancestry did come.
But again, why do you think this conversation continues to be so polarizing to elements of our community?
Because we have a victimization, a victim mentality.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We want to be, you know, the black sheep on the planet Earth. We want to stay in that predicament, you know, of worry me. We was enslaved. You can't expect nothing else from us except for us. Come on, yo. We got to get outside of that mentality. That is post traumatic syndrome. All right. That is what we call menticide. All right. Bobby E. Wright coined the term menticide. We are mentally genocidal in our thoughts. Mentally genocidal in our thoughts. Menticides. All right. So check out Professor or Dr. Bobby E. Wright. He showed you, you know, the situation and the problem with our mentality of victimized, you know, of us.
Victimization.
Right. Victimization. Us being the victims. That's the problem. That's a problem. You know what I'm saying? So because we have that mentality, this is what is taking place, you know. So in order to break that mentality, we have to go a whole new route. We have to go back and do more research. Like I said, Abu Bakari, who is Mansa Abu Bakari, all right, who was the uncle of Mansa Musa. Abu Bakari was in the leadership or in the head king role position, and he was the richest man on the damn planet. So they put together 2,200 ships and came here in search of their brothers and sisters, the Olmecs, the She people, 168 years before Columbus. So if you want to know how your West African traits got here, it came by Abu Bakari, not by no damn Europeans. Sorry, that is a lie. All right, so that's how the ships got here, because we built them, not because they bought us here. Let's get the history straight. Have
we ever found any evidence of these ships, of these fleets?
Actually, they have.
It sounds like there were armadas that came over here. Have there been any findings?
There's proof of Abu Bakari coming here. There's proof in Nevada. There's proof in Arizona. Matter of fact, that's who built the 18 temples in Arizona. Was them. You know what I'm saying? These was astrological. These was astrology points. You know, just like the Dogons, they was the master astrologers in Egypt. All right, the Mandinkas was part of that same people. All right, and they came here and they built these same pyramids and structures and mounds. They helped with these designs. But the Olmecs was already doing these things prior in the old world, because they was also from Isle of Mali, you know, which we now refer to as Timbuktu region. You know,
we know about the miseducation system, everybody being victimized by those 12 years, you know, every organization, a group saying that this man has lied about everything. He's lied about things he ain't even got to lie about. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing truthful about him. He speaks with a forked tongue. Why would the thing that's so integral to our makeup and our being, that being our history, you know, and our, you know, our origins as it applies to where we come from or what have you, why would anybody expect this person to tell them the truth about that when that entails, you know, you being tied to this particular land or any land for that matter? You know, because with land comes resources. With resources comes everything they go to war for.
Right.
So why would people expect, you know what I'm saying, this system to be truthful about the very thing that would give them liberation?
Right. Well, I think the answer was already given to us by Miseducation of a Negro by Carter G. Woodson. You know, second graduate of Harvard University, right behind W.B. Du Bois, in which he stated specifically that many of us are not even Africans, because many of us have never even been to Africa. And then he also said that we're not African American because, number one, few of us has never even not just left from Africa, but we never was in Africa. Right. In the book Miseducation of a Negro by Dr. Carter G. Woodson,
yes,
he states specifically that few of us are African American because we've never been to Africa or came from Africa, is what he stated specifically. So what he was saying was that the vast majority of us were from here. Now, not saying that we did not have, once again, an African connection, because I already spoke about the fact that 168 years before Christopher Columbus, we already sailed here based on historical facts by Mansa Abubakari II, who was the uncle of Mansa Musa, who they say is the richest man in the world.
And there was already a civilization that predated his as well, because we have the Olmec civilization. And I believe as...
Right, the Fosums were here 75,000 years before that. The Washita was here 100,000 years before that. The Twa people was here 2 million years before that. This is according to James Churchward, the brother of Albert Churchward, in his book Children of Mu, where he states that the Pygmies, who is the Twa people, was already here in the Western Hemisphere, in specifically in what we now refer to as Hawaii. And Hawaii, based on what we've been taught in school, was one of the 50 so-called states. So that means that they was here in the Americas 2 million years ago.
Now, you know, as it also pertains to secret societies, people have a tendency to get bent out of shape when they see pyramids, and they would, you know, exercise their brain when it comes to entertainment and things of that nature. But when we speak about, you know, their actual secrets in these Masonic lodges, all the way up to, you know, Shriners or what have you, pertaining to people's aboriginal identity, you know what I'm saying, or indigenous identity, they have a tendency to, you know, they can't filter that truth either. You know what I mean? Why do you think that is? Why do people have a problem understanding that the secret in these secret societies very well may be about themselves?
Right. From what I've been told by Dr. John Henry Clark, by Dr. Yusuf Ben Yakinen, by Baba Ashwa Kwesi, the secret is us. And it always has been and it always will be. However, it no longer has to be a secret. It can now be sacred, you know, if we wake up, you know, because truthfully, the shit has hit the fan. You know what I'm saying? We know the truth of who we are now, you know, and you can't put this cat back in the bag. The shit is too late, you know, and we already told people this damn over 20 years ago that the damn, that this is going to be the nail in the cracker's coffin. You know what I'm saying? We already told them that. The internet was going to be the nail in the coffin. You know, because now you can't stop information. Information is worldwide. You got people in Romania saying that if you want to learn about the Moors history, you need to come there. In Romania? Hold up. Now it makes sense. Why? Because they just found a fucking pyramid in Romania just about 4 years ago.
They did, yeah. Romania is the hotbed of their metaphysical, research and study.
Exactly. So
Moon,
So I had a Romanian to tell me that if you want to learn about the Moors, come to Romania. When me and my wife went to the United Grand Lodge of England, we also went the same day to the British Museum. In the British Museum, the curator of the museum said, oh yeah, what we see right here, this 20%, the other 80% is underneath in the basement. So me and my wife asked, well, can we go and see it? He said, I could, however, the head curator is not here today. However, you come back another time when he's here, we might be able to make that possible. So we would have gotten a chance to see the other 80%, in which that the only person that I know historically that got a chance to really do that was Gerald Massey. So, we would have got a chance to see the other 80% that's underneath the in the basement of the of the museum, of the British Museum.
So, right. Because of, the uptick as of lately of this information circulating around the internet, because a lot of, quote unquote, rappers and entertainers are making these claims or voicing, this information, it's a resurgence now in our community. And with that resurgence is the same emotions that pretty much were around 10 years ago, I think 7 or 8, when you did the debate with Seti, during that time, from that time up until now, what have you, what new approaches do you think that we can make to get this information to the people that we feel need it the most? And that's not only the people that never heard it, but also our people that are on the front line, waving the RBG flag, that are, Garveyites, that are in the Nation of Islam, the people that are already, that we call ourselves in this community, quote unquote, conscious or this, that, and the other, especially if this classification is coming down, puts everybody in that same box.
Right. Well, I know Minister Farrakhan, he's been going hard trying to give clue after clue after clue about the Moors.
Yes, he has.
Now, we know that Minister Farrakhan has his nationality or naturalization from Temple 13 under Bratton Bay, Grand Sheikh Bratton Bay. All right. So we know that for a fact. All right. And Bratton Bay was the one who helped Minister Farrakhan come back into the country once he was in Libya, when he went to go see Gaddafi. All right. So we know this for a fact. So Minister Farrakhan has been telling people now since 2005, doing what is called the Million More March. The Million More March. And on the Million More March, he has directly in the center who? Noble Drew Ali. Just recently, during this October this past Savior's anniversary for the Million Man March.
Right.
All right, this past Million Man March joint. What did he do? He showed that same picture once again, talking about the Moors with Noble Drew Ali sitting in the center. So this has been going on now for almost 12 years, at least with Minister Farrakhan.
Farrakhan, we understand. There's a lot more hostile elements in this community who, every time this conversation comes up, they get up in arms because, again, it seems as an affront to black liberation or even the term black itself. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but they don't realize that we just started being called blacks on a mass scale since the 1960s. So we're talking about just 40, 50, less than 50 years of us being called, black, so I mean it's not something in which, it's not a word in which that we should be getting caught up into, you know what I'm saying?
We
to define ourselves is something in which that should be something in which that we should be moving towards, something that has some type of status. When I look at the word Moor, and I find that the word Moor is embedded inside the definition of the word land. When I look in the Black's Law Dictionary and you look up the word land and the word Moors is embedded inside the definition, that means that interchangeably the word Moors and land are synonymous. They're interchangeable.
But if a person does not look at the land that they live in, that their mothers lived in, that their grandmothers lived in, that their grandmothers before that lived in, as their land, they still, even with all that being said, they still don't identify this as their land, but they kill for corners.
Right.
At the same time, granted, they still don't identify it as land.
Right.
So they're still not willing to go as hard for this land. You know, like the brother said, people have had, you know, land allotted to them, passed down by family or what have you, you know, and they've given that up to chase the quote unquote American dream, the very America that they don't want to live in. This is Babylon. But at the same time, you know what I mean? Because their identity is tied into somewhere
far off
across an entire you know, ocean bed or what have you, they can't make that connection.
9,000 miles away.
How can we have a bridge, or how can we build a bridge and have this conversation with our brothers who are still on the front line, who are still very much our brothers and our sisters? They're right next to us. You know what I'm saying? What have you learned from that time up until now that we can do to build this bridge and better these communications where these conversations won't always be causing such a division?
Well, I mean, we got to go back to the greats. Dr. Ben, you know, Chancellor Williams, Dr. John Henry Clark. Over and over again, they have told us in their own way, you know. I mean, goddamn. I mean, look how clear Dr. John Henry Clark was. He said, we are a people in search of a nationality. He said, your nationality must reattach you back to land, history, and culture. He said, but we answer to stupid names such as Negro, black, and colored. Black might tell you how you look, but it doesn't tell you who you are. Now, damn, I mean, this shit is damn phenomenal for me to damn sit here and listen to this man who I've studied for 40 years. And he said blatantly that we are still a people in search of a nationality, even after using the term Negro, black, and colored. So that means, goddamn it, Negro, black, and colored is not a goddamn nationality. Now, this is coming from Dr. John Henry Clark. All right? So, I mean, if they couldn't understand what he said 30 years ago, I don't know what I can say in order to make them understand now. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm following the greats. You know what I'm saying? I know in the debate, you know, Dr. Ben sitting right in the front row after the debate is over, and I was the only one who really showed documentation from Dr. Ben when he wrote in his Cultural Genocides book that some of the most honorable names that we have mentioned in history that have been stated by Europeans and Asians, the first word was the word Moors. All right? So even after that debate with Sarosu and Seti, Dr. Ben said, I don't even know what they was fussing about. And I agree. That's why I was giving that to Seti the whole time throughout the whole thing, because I'm like, look, this is just information. I'm not getting bothered and upset about this shit. You know what I'm saying? Because this is just information. Everybody gonna have to have their own conclusion. They're gonna have to go back and read the books. And once they read the books, then they'll come to the exact same conclusion that I had to come to. You know what I'm saying? That you came to. You know, that many others have to come to. You know what I'm saying? So that's just all it is. You know, different levels of consciousness, and once they read the books, then they'll come to the same conclusion. They'll come to that same level of consciousness. Until then, they'll stay at the level that they at, and the debates will continue.
So to wrap this up, I'm gonna ask you a question that's often asked me. You know what I'm saying? People are like, one, where can I get more of this information? Two, you know what I'm saying? How can I go about claiming my nationality? And three, what have you, in your experience, felt is the most operable tool in claiming one's nationality? You know, what is the best advantage for one to do such a thing?
Knowledge of self. I mean, that's the whole thing about nationality, is just simply claiming or reclaiming knowledge of self. Proclaiming, reclaiming, and claiming knowledge of self. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So nationality, know that it deals with your allegiance, your political allegiance, but we also looking at the factor of your status, which ties you, as Dr. John Henry Clark said, back to land, your culture, and history. So if I did not listen to Dr. John Henry Clark, then we would look at an aspect of our culture and history in which that we would negate. All right? In the RBG movement, they attempted to negate the Moorish aspect, but yet the Moors are not trying to negate the African aspect, even though some has, and which is a failure of them not reading also. All right? Because even in the Moorish Holy Quran Circle 7, Noble Ali mentioned the word Africa and African more than 19 different times throughout the text. No. So, that's where I just want to clear it up at. Simply go back and read and do your research and study and realize that it's knowledge yourself that you're really searching for. And if you're really searching for it, then you'll find your answer. History best rewards all research. Elijah Muhammad said it, Minister Farrakhan said it, Malcolm X, El-Haj Malik Al-Shabazz said it, Dr. Khaled said it, and we can go on and on. Peace.
So give me your top 3 books. If somebody wanted to gain some of this information or some of this research and get directly to it, what would be the top 3 books that you recommend?
Top 3 books, my book would be number 1. The First World Order would be number 1. Number 2 would be Lost Realms by Zachariah Sitchin. And 3 would be all the books by Claude Winters.
Okay. And with that, family, peace, love, and light, y'all.
Peace.
Peace, family. This Brother Rich from UGR, urging all my viewers and subscribers to help support the channel by donating just $1 to the UGR PayPal account. We appreciate the viewership and support, and we understand the power of $1. If you benefit in any way, shape, or form, we ask that you donate $1, whether it be monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, or yearly, so that we can build our brand to compete with the NBCs, the MTVs, and the Foxes of the world. I figure since Kanye could ask Mark Zuckerberg for $1 billion, I can ask my subscribers to donate $1 so I could make the best possible content possible. The main objective of this channel is to inspire you to become the greatest version of yourself. So hopefully throughout the years of you watching this program, you have
Rich, but I came from the Nile Valley. It's bittersweet, I smile sadly. Truth rarely seen like child's daddies. I'm in Hotep, I style flashy. Regarded highly, I'm Selassie. As time is passing, tribes are clashing. I know the ledge, I grow my dreads. My queen's 2 open legs have golden eggs, I'm hatched. 9 months had to hold my breath. Now I dream so heavy that I broke the bed. Provoke the feds that slaughter the sons. 12 get the 4-5 like a quarter to 1. The war has begun. Latin for sun, the soul and Melanites get more of the sun. We the fortunate ones. Got the God in the womb and the Lord in my come, and no more means love. Death is the source that I'm from. Everything that they do, we have already done. Self-taught, my ice a melt salt. Mine high price, I write and sell thought. I felt cloth, Akhenaten, cotton shopping, aquaponic, chronic options. Botanizing pot concoction. Earth a thought, her twat is rotten. Knowledge of my art forgotten. Watch the conscious sovereign doctrine. Not dishonest prophet goblins. Boxing out the box, I'm boxed in. Black magic, black yoni, black phallus. How they turn kings and queens to crack addicts. How they make us lose our sight like bad glasses. They know we invented original mathematics. Black magic, treat home like cat Sabbath. I can hear beautiful music and bad static. I attract cash in bags like that's Magnus. Last maverick, blast fast like Zab Jab.